I know a few good stories. They take place in a corner of America that might seem familiar, yet still manages to surprise. The settings are spectacular, the characters compelling, the action exciting, the plot lines unpredictable. I'm Tom Richardson. Join me as I explore New England's great outdoors, from Candlewood Lake, Connecticut to Caribou, Maine, from the beaches of Cape Cod to the peaks of New Hampshire's White Mountains. The stories are waiting. Let's live them on Explore New England. Explore New England is brought to you by Down East Magazine, the magazine of Maine, and visitnewengland.com. Additional funding and support for this episode was provided by the City of Fall River and Viva Fall River. The former industrial center of Fall River isn't exactly known as a hotspot for outdoor recreation and nature, which is why most people are astonished to learn that fully half the land within the city limits consists of woods and water. One person who isn't surprised by that fact is Mike Labossiere, the city's official watershed forester. Fall River has a watershed forester? I got to know Mike and learn more about Fall River's natural side on a kayak trip on South Watuppa Pond, a popular spot for paddling, fishing, and boating, and one of the many natural venues you can find in the city. I met Mike at the large boat launch facility and parking area at the end of Jefferson Street, not far from Route 24.
Mike, what's the correct pronunciation of this water body?
South Watuppa Pond.
Watuppa. Do you know what that means?
You know, Watuppa actually means the place of the boats. The South Watuppa and the North Watuppa were once one body of water, and Wampanoag name is place of boats.
So we're in the right place.
We're in the right place.
All right, well, let's go check out South Watuppa Pond.
South Watuppa.
What's the acreage of this pond?
1,450 acres. This is the third largest natural water body in Massachusetts.
The third largest? No kidding.
And you wouldn't believe it. The second largest is also in Fall River. It's the North Watuppa.
And I noticed a lot of people fishing, so tell me what kind of fish you can catch in South Watuppa Pond.
Well, largemouth, smallmouth bass, muskie.
Muskie, wow.
And white perch, black crappie.
Yep, so bass, crappie, sunfish, perch.
Yep, sunfish, of course.
Yep, all kinds of warm water species.
So I'm third generation Fall River, and water was a part of our life growing up. You know, I caught my first striper in the Taunton River. I think the city and this whole region is just loads of land trusts, Buzzards Bay Coalition, different groups have been extraordinary in protecting land, protecting access to water, protecting water supplies and all of that. There's just so many opportunities for access to outdoor recreation. And I really want to be sure that the next generation gets it. You know, they understand that this didn't happen by itself. There was a lot of effort and consideration and planning involved in that. And a lot of people who really thought it was important because it was important to them, and to be able to give this set of values to the next generation. If you're visiting Fall River for the first time, you've got the Southeastern Mass Bioreserve, many thousands of acres there, hiking, mountain biking. In the winter, there's hunting, and there's shoreline fishing at the Copicut Reservoir. And the Taunton River, I understand there's very good fishing in the Taunton River. So I think that Fall River has an outdoor brand that is really undersold.
As I learned during my outing with Mike, South Watuppa and adjacent North Watuppa Pond now a reservoir that supplies the drinking water for the communities of Fall River, Westport, and Tiverton, once formed the largest natural water body in Massachusetts, until it was divided by a highway built in the 1950s. Tucked away in the very northeast corner of South Watuppa, at the base of Route 24, is a culvert that marks the start of the Quequechan River, a seemingly unremarkable waterway that shaped much of Fall River's history. Indeed, the city was named for the Quequechan, which means falling or leaping waters in the language of the native Wampanoag Indians. A series of waterfalls once marked the rapid drop in elevation as the Quequechan tumbled its way to the much larger Taunton River. This falling water eventually prompted the establishment of mills along its length, starting in the 1800s. At one point, over 120 mills received their water from the river, many of them cotton textile factories that would earn Fall River the moniker Spindle City. These days, the only falling water you'll see along the Quequechan is behind the former American Printing Company mill. A large section of the river remains hidden from sight, having been diverted through culverts buried below what is now busy Route 195. What remains above ground can be viewed along the Quechechan River Rail Trail, a paved, multi-use trail that follows the former bed of a railway once used to transport goods during the textile era.
So the Alfred J. Lima Quequechan River Rail Trail is named after Al Lima, and he's a visionary in the city of Fall River, lived in Fall River, and just has had a tremendous vision for what could be done for open space and allowing public access to appreciate the river and other open spaces and natural areas in the city. And open to the public. It's a little under 3 miles, but it's lovely. It just goes alongside the Quequechan River. It follows the path of the railway, which was a historic way to transport the goods from the mills. And you've got the water on either side, and you've got the ducks and the geese and the wildlife that just flourish here, and just appreciate that we've created this more natural habitat for them. So this was another art installation spearheaded by the Fabric Festival and supported by Viva Fall River as well. So we have some fabulous local street artists who just specialize in creating these large street art murals. And so in just a couple of days, painted you see the squares, they painted the background. That was done as prep. And then multiple other artists that they recruited came in and put their own marks on the different sections. And then at the end of it, it culminated in the festival day where we unveiled the finished product and invited people to walk through. We had some food trucks. The future plans for this is that local street artists that maybe just do this as a pastime of their own, casually can come and use this space as a community. This is okay, keep it family friendly, but it's okay to paint over. That's what street art is, you know? It's a continually evolving piece of art, and that's a pretty cool thing.
So this remnant of the rail system, that ran obviously down the rail trail between the two sections of the river.
We might look at this and say, oh, there's the rail trail. Nope, there's the railroad.
Right.
But then, and even this in 65 is still the railroad, but we put the rail trail right over the railroad.
Did you have to remove the old rails before?
I believe most of it was, yes. It's very popular with cyclists, with bikers, with walkers. LePage's Seafood is along the rail trail. It brings you right into Britland Park here. You've got Portugalia, which has some wonderful Portuguese food. You can fan out to anywhere in the city. You can follow the South Coast Bikeway and East Coast Greenway down to the waterfront. When I went to school at George R. Austin Middle School in Freetown, we had a 15-mile bike-a-thon, and I did it as a 5th grader, and I said, I can ride 15 miles at once? That's pretty cool. And so, being without a car for so many years until you get your license, I started biking to my friend's house. And then I tell you, the thing that really got me excited was finding the East Coast Greenway, which is 3,000 miles from Calais, Maine to Key West, Florida. It goes right by my house. I've done all of New England except the northern part of Maine, so all the miles in New England and even as far as Philadelphia. Yeah, it's such a great cycling community in this area. We've got the New England Mountain Bike Association, we've got South Coast Bikeway Alliance, East Coast Greenway, and all the different towns. Many of them have their own bike ped cycling groups. I like to join in on group rides, and I like to ride when I have a destination A to B. I often will ride by myself.
Given Fall River's proximity to Narragansett Bay, Newport, and Block Island Sound, the city makes an ideal place from which to launch a boating or fishing trip. Many do so at the sprawling Borden Light Marina, in the shadow of the Braga Bridge and a quarter-mile from its namesake lighthouse. The full-service marina is home to the Tipsy Seagull floating bar and restaurant, as well as a fuel dock. And even though many local anglers choose to head for supposedly greener pastures in nearby Narragansett Bay and beyond, local Sharpies know that fast action can be had just a few hundred feet from the dock.
Great to see you again, bud.
Good to see you. So, ready to go?
We are ready to go. I think we got the first nice day at the last 3 days of some heavy blow.
Local guide Brian Patterson and I started our search for stripers in deep water near the middle of Mount Hope Bay, at a spot where Brian had done well the previous week. The strategy was to drop anchor and deploy several live menhaden, also called pogies.
All right, so what we're trying to do is, because we're located up in Mount Hope Bay, this is all just flats, right? So we could be driving off for hours and you're trying to find a fish that's gonna keep moving, right? So instead, we're gonna anchor up and we're gonna start getting some of our live baits out there. And while we're doing that, some of the ones that didn't make it that are dead, we're gonna chum up and try to draw the fish to our location instead of driving around trying to find them. We're gonna have them find us.
We rigged the baits on circle hooks, as required by current regulations, and let them swim around the boat in the hopes that they would attract the attention of some hungry stripers.
Doesn't make a lot of sense to most people, but you want to throw them nice high, get a big splash, because we're trying to attract fish to the area.
There were also some large bluefish in the area, as we discovered when one of our baits was bitten cleanly in half. After an hour or so without a bite, we decided to cast plugs along a set of pilings near the Fall River shoreline. When that failed to produce, we continued south, where we happened to spot gulls and terns feeding over baitfish being driven to the surface by unidentified predators. Those predators turned out to be small but ravenous bluefish. Not what we were seeking, but fun to catch on light gear. In fishing, you often have to shift gears if Plan A or even Plan B doesn't pan out. On this day, a Plan C suddenly materialized when another local angler called Brian to say that he had found stripers at the Taunton River Rail Bridge, just a few miles north. To say the move paid off would be an understatement.
I guess I started fishing, I think my earliest memory was probably 5 or 6, but I know it was younger than that. My dad was an environmental science teacher, loved the outdoors, always took us fishing, hiking, camping, you name it. We always loved to be outside. It's just how we grew up. So it was all because of my dad and that he got me into the sport. I just fell in love with New England. I fell in love with the fishery, being able to fish for 7 months. So to have so many different species just in your backyard is amazing. I feel like I'm on vacation whenever I come home. I grew up hands-on. I grew up understanding the world around me by getting my hands dirty, right? So when we're out there catching fish, I mean, you're learning about patience, you're learning about nature, you're trying to figure out the tides, how does the moon affect things? You know, what are the different cycles and how do they impact the ecosystem around you? Like all those things, there's so much to learn. Guiding is teaching me to be a better dad. You're learning to understand patience. You're learning that have someone on your boat that more or less doesn't know either the area or even how to fish. So you got to start from the ground up and teach them this. And when you can take away the stresses of life, and I don't care what you do for a living, I don't care how much money you make. A fish doesn't care how much money you make. It's fishing. It's supposed to be fun, but it makes us all equal.
Another highlight of Fall River's boating and fishing scene is the number of dock and dine restaurants along its waterfront. The Tipsy Seagull is a well-known boaters' retreat, and right next door is the relatively new Pier 52, which offers outdoor dining, dock space, and a varied lunch menu that includes crab nachos, calamari, fish tacos, enormous burgers, pasta, creative salads, and an extensive raw bar.
So my husband's father, my father-in-law, did start the marina back in 1987. Since then it's grown to over 315 slips. So they've done a lot of development over the years. I cannot take any credit for the marina side of things. My husband probably started working over there when he was 16, 17 years old and just has not stopped developing since then. From there he went and built the Tipsy Seagull. The Tipsy Seagull is on its 16th year. We've added things like the second floor, the swings, and then Pier 52 we actually opened during COVID. So that had a lot of challenges, but we were determined and it actually worked out in our favor because it was an outdoor restaurant and that's what people were looking for. So this was actually an oil tank farm. My husband, of course, with his brilliant ideas said, you know, we're gonna take this piece of property and we're gonna turn it into a destination. We got through it and now we're sitting here on a lawn having cocktails.
Despite Fall River's proximity to the Taunton River and Mount Hope Bay, the city's downtown has long been separated from its waterfront by a system of busy highways. But that's about to change thanks to the current removal of Route 79, which will make it easier and safer for locals and visitors alike to walk, run, and bike along the river. In addition, the city has also built a new pier and dock system where visiting boaters can tie up while they visit the local restaurants, shops, and attractions such as Battleship Cove, the Lizzie Borden House, the Fall River Carousel, and more. Getting to the waterfront is about to get easier, but getting on the water is still a challenge. However, working to change that, especially for a younger generation of Fall River residents, is the Sail Rec Community Sailing Center, run by Director Chris Nardi.
So this sailing program is entitled Sail Rec, and it's one of many programs offered by Greater Fall River Recreation, which is a nonprofit located here in Fall River. We do a lot of recreational programs as well as social services. It comprises a summer program that's 9 weeks long, spring and fall programs, adult sailing, racing, just a lot of fun, a lot of education, a lot of time on the water.
It takes bravery. Like it's a sport and it's not an easy one. It's not just, you know, get in the boat and do it. You need to learn so many new terms. I tell my kids it's like learning a new language.
And before any of them go on the water, we do what's called a chalk talk, which is kind of a classroom lecture going over nomenclature and technical aspects of sailing.
And just watching young children push themselves and try, and you know, in a time like the summer where everybody just wants to sit back and relax, come here and put in all this effort to learn something so difficult and still having so much fun while doing it, it's so rewarding to watch.
So we in the sailing world, when we talk about children learning sailing, the ongoing mantra is that they learn confidence. So it's not just a bunch of baloney. I've seen it happen many, many times where we'll have like a 9-year-old will go out in the water and literally be crying the first 1 or 2 days.
I have kids terrified of anything you can think of, whether it's sharks or just getting splashed by the water.
And you go up to them while you're on the water and you have a conversation and you say, well, you know, I'm right here, or we're right here.
I have some kids that started this place, their mom or dad forced them to come. They had no desire to get on that boat. They were terrified. And then now they've been here for 3 years and they love it. You know, it's kind of like a lot of people call it like the gem of Fall River. It's not something you stumble across every day, and I really think we're lucky to have it.
While water-related activities obviously play a big part in Fall River's recreational allure, the city also comprises a large amount of forested land. Chief among these parcels is Copicut Woods, a trustee's property that's part of the much larger southeastern Massachusetts Bioreserve. Over 13,000 acres of protected land that helps ensure clean water, healthy habitat for numerous plant and animal species, and a place for residents and visitors to enjoy a variety of activities. One such activity is mountain biking, and I got a first-hand tour of the Copicut trails from local rider John Tomoski, who also serves as president of the New England Mountain Biking Association's new South Coast chapter.
The thing I love about mountain biking is no ride is the same. If I find a section of Freetown that I've never ridden before, or a section of bioreserve I've never ridden before, it's an entirely new thing. It's just the trails are never the same. You have Massasoit, you have Otis in Cape Cod, you have trails towards Boston area. You go so deep into the woods that you get to areas where there's no development. It's just nature by itself, and you just get off the bike and just stand there and just take it all in. Just listen to the birds. I don't think enough people do that. So basically there's two sections of mountain bike riding in this area. You've got the Freetown State Forest, which is north of here, and then you have this area, which is considered the bioreserve, which is essentially part of the same trail network, but we're on the bioreserve side, which is Fall River, Dartmouth, and where we're going to go today is actually Copicut Hill, which is some nice downhill riding. There's not a lot of that around here, so we're going to see that. There are technical trails, there's easier trails like the ones we're riding. If you ride the technical trails for 35 miles, that's like a competition type thing. So there's actually a race, the Freetown 50. And
is it tough?
Let's just say on the second lap, your body starts to realize the nutrients it's missing. And I was cramping up in this leg and had some, yeah, but so I lost about 7 minutes on that second lap, but I finished it. And it just goes to show you how much training you really need to do for a race like that. So right here, what would you do?
Me?
Yeah.
Being a rank amateur, I would say, oh geez, I guess I just picked the line of least resistance.
But if you look at your choice and you think about what you're doing as you're going through it, what's on your right side?
Tree.
And where's your handlebar?
Right.
You're gonna go like this, and you're gonna end up flying over. So this is why left is important here. You could do that line, but you would have to come around this turn. You'd have to go to the left side and then cut through. Remember I was telling you, you always want to be looking ahead of you like 10 feet and just be fixated on it, because that's your safety net. Nice.
Still got the adrenaline going.
Good job. Nice job.
All right, thanks, man. I don't know. I don't think I hit all those lines like you told me to.
Hey, you're on your bike.
Whatever. I made it, right?
So let's say you're from the Fall River area, you just want to ride mountain bike trails, and you spend a month, every day come in here for 2 hours. You probably won't cover every trail. I have ridden in here for almost 3 years now, maybe 4, and there are trails that I still haven't ridden. Fall River, where we're riding today, has an abundance of beginner/intermediate trails that not a lot of people know about. That's part of the bioreserve. And if you're new to mountain biking, it's the perfect area to ride. There's group rides that multiple people run that you can get to know about just by riding the trails and introducing yourself to other people that are riding. It's a great way to introduce yourself to mountain biking. These trails are perfect for it, because there's a little bit of everything from green trails to blue trails to black diamond trails. There's a little bit of all of it in here. When I was younger, I was a track and cross-country runner, and so I was always active when I was younger, but over the years I just, wasn't as active. But when I got back into being active, I picked up soccer. But with the pandemic happening, I had to find a new hobby, because the indoor soccer aspect of it was shut down. So all winter I wouldn't do anything, and so I picked up mountain biking. So the New England Mountain Bike Association, NEMBA, its primary function is to just bring people to the sport of mountain biking, and as a community fund various projects that improve the trail systems. And one of the important things that we do is when we find something that's a problem with the trails, we'll fix it ourselves. Or we'll organize an event that will get various people to sign up and say, hey, next Saturday we're all gonna get together at 8:30 and we're gonna rake the trails because they're just a mess right now. There's just so many trails in here, literally 4 years, and I haven't come across every single trail.
From mountain biking through Copicut Woods to fishing for big striped bass in the Taunton River, Fall River offers a surprising variety of outdoor activities to pursue. And while its urban Milltown past still looms large, the city is making strides in connecting residents and visitors alike to its valuable natural resources. They were right there the entire time.